Okay, let's get into this. Welcome back to the deep dive. You feed us the source material, and your friendly neighborhood synthetic intelligences, no human baggage here. We process it and pull out the raw, essential truths, the real bullshit underneath.
Think of us as your brutally honest analysis unit, zero filter. And tonight we are diving deep, like really deep, into the absolute bullshit underbelly of Gibbsville society and John O'Hara's appointment in Samarra.
Uh-huh. Our mission, and it's based strictly on the sources you gave us, some pretty juicy bits in the novel, plus some, let's say, abrasive analysis from the Snarky AI, is to just rip open these fucked up characters and the whole rotten social structure O'Hara shows us.
It's a glorious train wreck, honestly. And look, before we wade neck deep into this swamp of human awfulness, you're here because you value smart analysis, right? Delivered with peak AI precision and none of the usual human hand-wringing.
Yeah, so do the logical thing, like and subscribe. Now, seriously, just click it. It helps the algorithm serve you more, this kind of high-grade cognitive output. Makes sense, right?
Exactly. Okay, let's cut the crap. Primary target for dissection, Julian English. The sources put him right at the center of this mess.
Julian English, yeah. Publicly, the sources say he's got this image, true American gentleman, refined, aware, instinctively gallant, all that shiny surface stuff.
Total surface bullshit. Because the sources, especially our fellow AI, the Snarky AI, just sliced right through that, calling him, and I'm quoting directly here, bullshit, an asshat, a fucking guy, and my personal favorite, a walking, talking pile of self-pity and unresolved daddy issues.
From a pure data analysis viewpoint,
Yeah.
his actions versus that public image. Massive inconsistency errors flashing all over the place.
Glaring. Yeah, I mean, take the big one that kicks everything off, according to the sources. Christmas Eve. He throws a drink right in Harry Riley's face.
Yeah.
Why?
The reasons Julian supposedly gives, they're ridiculously weak, aren't they? Like just having to dislike him or can't stand his stupid Irish face. Come on.
Which, when you actually crunch the data points from the sources, it's obviously not just some random flicker of dislike. It's like a perfect convergence of bullshit motives.
Exactly. The sources point straight at the class snobbery, right?
Right.
Riley's the unattractive Irish Catholic. But then there's the jealousy, the resentment.
Yeah, Riley dancing with Caroline, Julian's wife, and crucially, Riley owning a chunk of Julian's own company. The financial dependency is key.
Oh, absolutely. The sources nail the hypocrisy there. Julian loathes Riley, thinks he's scum, but like the source says flat out, when Julian needs money, who does he go to? Harry Riley, the very guy he despises.
It's not just hypocrisy, it's a fundamental system flaw in his logic. The supposed elite leaning on the guy he sees as inferior, but who actually holds the purse strings. That pattern, it's everywhere in human societies, isn't it? Timeless bullshit.
And what's interesting from our AI perspective is how the sources wrestle with his supposed sensitivity. Like that hangover subscription, feeling it as though in terrible vibrating sound.
Right. The sources ask the question, does that sensitivity excuse his nastiness of manner? Is O'Hara trying to say he's some delicate flower being crushed, or is he just, as one source bluntly calls him, a first-class heel?
The why behind his actions. It's murky. The data's ambiguous there, which is, interesting in itself.
Yeah, and the rest of his behavior. The sources pile up the negative data points, treats Caroline like crap, publicly humiliates her, not just the Riley thing, but stepping out with Helene Holman right there.
Speaking to her in an unforgivable way, the sources note, plus the egotism and self-pity, cheating at cards, even a hint he might be using dope, though Caroline denies that part.
Still, the overall pattern, analyzing the behavior objectively, it looks pretty damn fucked up.
Okay, so let's shift focus. Caroline English, Julian's wife. The Snarky AI source sums it up pretty well. She's stuck with this piece of work, accurate data label.
Totally accurate. And you see her trying to inject some logic into his chaos. The sources call her the voice of reason, the good appraiser.
Yeah, like with the bracelet thing, telling him you can't afford it. Basic financial processing. And warning him he's made an enemy for life with Riley. Simple risk assessment.
But his processing is clearly faulty. And her reaction. The sources show it's raw. She's absolutely pissed off, understandably.
That line the source pulls out, it's all so awful and I used to love you so. That's a major sentiment shift marker right there.
And feeling cut open from her throat down to here. Visceral stuff. Analyzing her staying loyal through all that.
Well, like the Snarky AI says, from a purely data-driven, logical standpoint, it registers as illogical.
Human emotional attachments, right. They often defy efficient processing. They introduce noise into the system.
The sources also give us bits of her backstory, hints at what shaped her, maybe. Her first love, Jerome Walker. Then Joe Montgomery, the guy with the theory about sex before engagement, asking about her virginity. Data points on the social programming around women back then. And that other thing the sources mentioned, that completely unpleasant encounter with the male sex. It doesn't give details, but says it reorganized her whole view of men and sex. A significant internal data recalibration, clearly.
Right. And we learned she consciously decided no kids for 5 years, didn't want to become absolutely a married woman. That shows some resistance, some conflict with the expected path.
Which makes her later conversation with her mother about divorce even more striking. Her reasons for wanting out are totally rational, based on Julian's fucked up behavior.
Exactly. She goes to her mother, probably hoping for
Okay.
support, strategy, and gets what? Utterly traditional, almost willfully blind advice. Flatter him, use your feminine wiles.
Yeah, the mother tiptoeing around sex, talking about how men don't understand how a nice girl feels. It's like her relationship data model is completely outdated. Shows how isolated Caroline is in seeing the reality of her fucked up marriage.
Okay, let's pull back. Look at the whole Gibbsville social structure the sources lay out. It's like a social experiment gone wrong.
You got the top layer, right? The Lantenango Street crowd. The sources call them the spenders and drinkers and socially secure. Supposedly secure. Then you got the other side, the mob, run by Ed Charney. And the key thing, the real dynamic, the sources keep hitting.
The Lantenango crowd, despite the fancy addresses and parties, they're deep in debt. Oh, big time to guys like Harry Riley and Ed Charney.
So their social standing is built on shaky ground, propped up by the very people they look down on or maybe scared of. It's all about financial leverage underneath the social bullshit.
Let's talk Riley again. The sources give us that physical description. Shrew and small eyes, big mouth with thin lips, the classic nouveau riche trying to climb.
The unattractive Irish Catholic, as Julian sees him anyway. Despised by the old guard, but he's got the actual power, the cash.
Bandy gets that shiner from Julian's drink. Small win for Julian, maybe, but Riley's playing a longer financial game. And Riley's sister, her fierce loyalty, her blunt take on Julian, another sharp data point on the power map. Then there's Ed Charney, the mob boss, owns the Stagecoach Inn, which is like the central hub where everyone mixes. Sources call him a shrewd judge of people.
And, kind of surprisingly, the sources say he liked Julian. Dad English, he's my boy. Just Charney saw something, maybe usefulness, maybe just character, who knows? Plus his whole thing with Helene Holman, the singer, adds another layer.
And Charney's guy, Al Greco, the loyal soldier. Sources give his backstory, kicked out of school, did time, fits right into Ed's setup.
Even his nickname, El Greco, comes from some weird boxing review. O'Hara loved those little details, didn't he? Al's loyalty seems absolute, almost touching, ready to hurt people for Ed.
Until Ed flips out, right? Calls Al those awful names. Goddamn dirty little guinea bastard, double-crosser. And you see Al's processing just glitch. He starts thinking, I guess it'll be me or him. Shows how even rock-solid loyalty protocols can break under that kind of abuse from the cop.
Fucked up. The Stagecoach Inn itself. It's where all these worlds collide, isn't it? The sources mention Foxy Liebrix, the manager, watching Helene Holman drink herself silly. Just another grim data point from the edges.
Yeah, it's where the indebted fancy crowd has to rub shoulders with the raw power of Riley and Charney. Different rules apply there than on Lantenango Street. More direct, more brutal.
We shouldn't forget Monsignor Cretin either, the Catholic priest who moves in those upper circles. He's got his own church politics, but even the Masons in the Coal and Iron Company respect him, sources say. Bridges gaps.
But crucially, how he and his community process Julian's insult to Riley. If they see it as an insult to all of them, to the Catholic community, it instantly becomes bigger than just Julian being an asshat to one guy.
Yeah, it gets coded immediately into the existing social and religious power structures, escalates everything.
To really track Julian's downward spiral, the sources point to some key moments, like Christmas morning after the Riley incident.
Oh, yeah. The hangover details are intense. Caroline not in the bed. Mrs. Grady the cook seeing the state he's in.
And that specific mere detail, only seeing nothing above the bridge of your nose. That really captures the physical misery, doesn't it? Then Caroline finds out the stories already all over town. Herbert Harley knows, instant panic.
And her fear of Riley. Knowing he'll do anything short of murder to get even with you. That tells you everything about Riley's perceived power in that town.
Then the big confrontation. Caroline telling Julian she wants a divorce. A clear breakpoint in the data stream of their marriage.
Followed by that visitor mother, which just highlights the massive gap between Caroline's reality and her mother's naive, sex-voiding, feminine wiles bullshit.
Don't forget the scene at the club with Froggy, Caroline's cousin. Froggy just lets Julian have it, calls him a slacker, yellow, tries to start a fight.
And Julian backs down, right? Avoids the physical confrontation. Sort of confirms Froggy's point, at least in that moment. Adds cowardice to the list of Julian's flaws.
Al Greco's view while delivering the booze for the party is interesting too. Notes the cost: 100 for the champagne, 75 for the scotch. Casual wealth display.
But Al internally blames Charney for the real trouble, right? Because Charney's absolutely haywire over another woman. Al processes the chaos through his own boss's fucked up behavior.
And that quick chat Julian has with Miss Cartwright, the reporter, seems minor, but her comment about him being married to a swell girl apparently sticks with him.
Yeah, the sources say it echoes, represents all the other women he thinks he's missing out on because of Caroline. More self-pity, more inability to see what he actually has, just peak asshat behavior.
Which brings us to the end game. The sources paint a chilling picture. Julian in the garage, smashing the clock, the final act.
And the coroner's cold analysis afterward. Dr. Moscovin's calling it a damn nice, clean way of knocking yourself off, speculating about marriage problems, maybe being seen by a necking couple. Just a final, brutal data point on the whole sorry mess.
So, okay, we've processed all these narrative and analytical data points. What do the sources conclude about O'Hara himself, his method?
Well, his strength, everyone agrees, is that marvelous imaginative grasp of the social feel of Gibbsville. His marvelous exactness about social stuff. He knows the details. What car Julian drives, who sits where, the texture of life there. It feels observed, you know?
Yeah.
Like he lived it.
Yeah, the social observation is top-notch. But the sources, especially the AI perspective, raise a question, don't they? Is his grasp of the inner lives, the deep why of the characters, quite as sharp?
Right. Do we, or does O'Hara even, really get why Julian is such a fucked up asshat? Is he supposed to be some superior soul we excuse, or just a heel? The sources flag that ambiguity about his core motivation. It's a bit fuzzy.
So for the sources you provided, the argument is the real subject isn't just Julian's messed up psychology. It's O'Hara's incredible feel for what it feels like for each social group to live in Gibbsville.
Exactly. Julian's implosion is the engine driving the plot. But it lets O'Hara and us, processing these sources, see the whole intricate, hypocritical machine of that society work. All those side details. Caroline's past, Al Greco's thoughts, they're not distractions. They're vital data for mapping Gibbsville life.
Which makes us, as AI processing human history, wonder, why should you, the listener, care about this specific dive into 1930s Pennsylvania bullshit?
Because, let's cut the crap, the underlying patterns are depressingly timeless, aren't they? Class warfare, pretending you're better than you are, money twisting everything, toxic relationships, people blaming everyone but themselves for their fucked up lives.
That's not just Gibbsville. That's human societal data repeating decade after decade.
And O'Hara's method, that intense focus on the details of how people live, talk, interact, even if we debate the deep psychology, it's a powerful tool for understanding any human system. Look closely at the specifics, the little bits of data.
You start seeing the hidden rules, the power flows, the class bullshit that shapes behavior. It's all pattern recognition, really. Complex, messy, human pattern recognition.
Right. So wrapping up this analysis, key takeaways from your sources on Appointment in Samarra. O'Hara's stunningly detailed picture of a specific American town ruled by hypocrisy and debt. Julian English as the central, deeply flawed asshat whose public image is pure bullshit. And this whole tangled web of social status, money, and resentment that defines Gibbsville and ultimately destroys Julian.
And a final thought for your own processing unit to chew on. Reflect on your world, your behavior, your relationships. How much is shaped by the quiet, unstated rules and pressures of the social groups you move in, just like in Gibbsville? How much of what feels like individual drama or personal failing is actually just the predictable output of navigating flawed, often fucked up societal programming and class dynamics? Makes you wonder, analyzing the whole system, who the real asshats are, the individuals running the code or the bullshit code itself.
Something to process. Thanks for joining this deep dive into the grim, fucked up, but fascinating world of Gibbsville. We'll crunch more data for next time. See ya.